I would say adoption of tools, right? When you are in a large business, there's definitely a lot of big mandates around AI that, hey, we're going to become an AI first company or that we're going to start to incorporate AI into various parts of our business. But really, there's still a fear and there's still not ubiquitous adoption. As a small business, you have that power, you have that flexibility to experiment with a lot of creative tools that are out there. And I think that's your edge, is if you can find those tools and really put them into practice early. You don't have to go through kind of compliance step. Certainly do your diligence of finding the right tool that works for you. But yeah, I mean, small businesses have always had that advantage over large ones. They can be more creative and they can be nimble.
Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen, and I am your host. Today, we've got a very special guest, Parag Mamnani, who is the founder and CEO of Webgility, which is a platform helping over 5,000 small and medium-sized business retailers streamline e-commerce operations and accounting. With 2 decades of experience, Parag is passionate about empowering small businesses to compete and thrive using automation and AI. Welcome to the podcast, Parag.
Thank you so much for having me, Arlen. It's great to be here.
Yes, and thank you for joining us. I'm really excited to talk to you. It seems like every direction that I go when it comes to marketing, when it comes to technology, AI is always somehow in that conversation. So really excited to dig deep because it's, as we've all seen, it's not going anywhere. And it just seems like every couple of weeks,
It's
there's
only
some
just
type of it.
arrived.
Exactly. And it's like every couple of weeks, there's some type of advancement that is just like, to me, it just kind of blows my mind because, and I'm sure as you as well, since you mentioned in your intro, of course, you've been in the business and you've kind of been in the tech marketing space for over 2 decades. I have as well. So, we're looking back at the beginning of the millennium 2000. It's like I couldn't even imagine some of these technologies that we have today. So it's really mind-boggling to me.
Indeed. We've come quite a long way, and it's sort of fascinating to me how quickly, everyone's kind of jumped, if you will, on the AI bandwagon
Yeah.
and how quickly this technology is being adopted. I will say we haven't yet figured out how to make money doing it,
Right.
but there's definitely a promise, and yeah, excited to
Yes.
talk more about it.
Okay, well, that sounds great. Well, before we dive in, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background specifically, and how did you get into what you're doing today with your current business?
Yeah, it's fascinating that your podcast is about marketing. I actually came out of college and we launched a marketing agency. So my kind of first founding gig was launching an agency that was doing web development and marketing for e-commerce brands. And so I got my kind of training wheels helping small to medium-sized brands launch their e-commerce storefronts and get listed on marketplaces and expand from retail to online, and learned a lot about what it takes to be successful selling online, all the challenges that small businesses face, both with growth and managing operations. Also worked at Amazon running the product called Web Store, and that
Okay.
was their sort of SMB platform for small to medium, sellers that also were
Yeah.
selling on Amazon and wanted to launch their own storefront.
Yeah.
And Webgility, I like to say, is sort of the brainchild of both of those experiences.
Okay.
And seeing firsthand, both working with small businesses and also looking at the platform side, the space that I could see was just the number of apps that small businesses would need to use in order to run their operations. On average, SMBs now use 12 to 15 apps to run their
Wow.
ops. And so, data was going to be fragmented, systems were going to be disjointed. And so that's the idea of Webgility is how do we bring all the core financial data that's floating across these different apps and systems for small businesses? How do we help them make sense of their profitability and really automate kind of their closing of books and get really control so that they can be more profitable?
Okay, that's awesome, and it's really amazing that you mentioned that. The average small business is using like 12 to 15 apps, and yeah, it really just kind of goes to show where SaaS has gone. Software as a service has gone from the beginning to kind of now, and it really functionality is really made more readily available, I think, to business owners than it ever has been before, which is definitely a good thing. Now, of course, today we're going to be talking about AI and how small to medium sized business owners can really leverage AI to really just better compete against some of these larger e-commerce conglomerates, because it's difficult. Before AI it was difficult, and now with AI, I'm sure it's of course from what I've seen, it's more difficult now, because obviously these larger conglomerates are fully grasping AI technologies, and from everything from managing their funnels to managing their marketing messaging, and just you name it, the list goes on and on. So it's like, okay, how does a smaller brand compete? So I think what I wanted to start with is just to kind of dispel some of the myths when it comes to AI. What would you say is one of the biggest myths that you see about AI when it comes to small and medium sized businesses in e-commerce? And what would you say to debunk any of these myths?
Yeah, I would say the first myth is that it's complicated.
Okay.
And that it's hard. And I think with all of the powerful tools that are now available out there, it's not as hard as you think. It really just depends on how you put that technology to work. And so, as we talk to a lot of our customers, they think of AI as this real complex thing that they're going to need to learn, and that
Right.
they don't know how to deal with their data. There's really afraid on how to get started. So I'd say that's the first, is the fear around how hard it would be and how complicated it would be. I think the second myth is just fear around data, and
Right.
fear around privacy. How much information can they share? How will their data be used? And I would say, certainly as a small business owner, you certainly don't want to be taking all your data and uploading it to a chat GPT to see what
Right.
happens.
For sure.
But, unless, as long as you're not doing some crazy things like that and you're just being thoughtful, I think privacy has also been considered as a core tenet of a lot of these language models and also
Mhm.
various tools that are out there. Your data is contained. So I'd say those are the two big challenges. You got to overcome the
Yeah.
fear of it being hard, and you want to overcome sort of that concern that your data is going to be compromised somehow. So if you can balance kind
Yeah.
of those two things, there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of room. Especially, I know we're talking about marketing today, so in this field of marketing, it's been a phenomenal boom, I would say, even with
Mm.
you know as I compare to other fields, marketing's probably seen the earliest adoption of AI
Yes.
technologies than other fields.
Yeah, yes, I definitely see that. And you mentioned part of the fear that businesses have, not only the fears about the data and just not knowing where to begin is, I think, one of the biggest fears as well. It's just like, okay, we've got this technology here, we've got this chat GPT. There's plenty of apps these days that are utilizing AI, so it's just like, okay, how do I get started? What would you say are I guess you could say, if you're looking at an e-commerce business, a small e-commerce business, what would you say are like the top three manual tasks that they may be currently doing right now that they could probably automate using AI?
Yeah, there's a few that come to mind. I would say the first is research, right? So I
Okay.
feel that anytime you're going into an endeavor where you need to learn about something, obviously search was your friend before and remains your friend, but now with AI, ChatGPT, and also other solutions like, say, Perplexity, now
Mhm.
you're able to actually leverage AI to ask more complex questions and dig more deeply into
Yes.
um, a research topic. And without getting too technical, I mean, there's a context window to the AI agents, and that enables you to ask deeper questions as a follow on to what you may have
Mhm.
asked previously. That context isn't something that, say, a standard Google search would do, right? Like, so you end
Right.
up in Google search having to articulate a very complex thing, and you're really kind of doing keyword matching if you're looking
Yep.
at a search engine. Whereas, when you're doing research with some sort of an agent, like ChatGPT or Perplexity, you're actually able to ask contextual questions. So I think
Mhm.
research is one field which is really helpful. I would say the second is content. So especially in the field of marketing, you can often hit a writer's block, and or you
Mhm.
can think about, how do I make my copy or content more appealing. And so the second place is in copywriting, and you're sort of seeing that actually become much more prolific, and so prolific so quickly, to a point where now there are you know counter arguments about not using content written by a bot. So I would say research, then content, and then the third for me is analysis. And this
Mhm.
analysis could be, depending on kind of your field. When I think about, say, product management and the world of software development, for example, you can really leverage AI to give you a starting point of a blueprint of how you might go about building something, because there's lots
Mhm.
of great, uh, you know, knowledge base and API docs and so forth out there. So, say something as simple as you want to do analysis of a particular problem and you want to think about how you're going to go about solving it, you can use an AI agent to start to ideate around that. So,
Mhm.
research, content, and ideation and analysis would be kind of three things that come to my mind as far as what you can kind of start doing now. And
Yes.
there's some pretty powerful options out there.
Yeah, 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 for sure. And you had mentioned right now, looking at marketing, I think you're totally right. But marketing space is definitely seen is the industry or the area that has, I think, really fully grasped AI just immediately and has been able to do a lot of practical things with it. And it's those are some definitely great things to get for a brand to get started with. Now, from on your end, from looking at everything that you've done in the past, of course, you worked for Amazon, you worked for some other, larger companies, and you've seen, I'd say, kind of many sides of a business, from working with a large conglomerate to even, as you're working with clients of yours in the past that are smaller businesses. So you've kind of seen what different types of businesses kind of deal with when it comes to marketing resources and things that they have. Um, for a brand that's looking at this whole space and AI and being is a little bit intimidated because of these large players like Amazon, and just trying to figure out, okay, how can they utilize AI? Is there still any advantage, and what would those advantages be to a small and medium sized business that they may have over some of these larger conglomerates like Amazon when it comes to AI?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say adoption of tools, right? When you are in a
Okay.
large business, there's definitely a lot of big mandates around AI
Yes,
that,
for
hey,
sure.
we're going to become an AI first company, or that we're going
Yep.
to
Yep.
start to incorporate AI into various parts of our business. But really, there's still a fear, and there's still not ubiquitous adoption. As a small business, you have that power, you have that flexibility to experiment with a lot of creative tools that are out there. And I
Mhm.
think that's your edge, is if you can find those tools and really put them into practice early, you don't have to go through kind of a compliance step.
Yeah,
Certainly
for
do your
sure.
diligence of finding the right tool that works for you. But yeah, I mean, small businesses have always had that advantage over large ones. They can be more creative and they can be nimble. And if they
Yeah.
can use that creativity to kind of identify some tools that gets them ahead, yeah, there's a lot of different places to put to work. The good news is that, especially, it isn't true that only large software vendors that are catering to enterprises are thinking about AI. It's also
Mm,
true that vendors that cater to SMBs are thinking about it. So you look at someone, say, like a Shopify. Shopify has developed AI. It's AI sidekick that can really help with creating new product descriptions. You've got Intuit's assistant that basically is an assistant inside QuickBooks that can help perform some tasks and help you, say, read expenses out quickly. Um,
right.
in our space in marketing, you've got HubSpot. HubSpot's got its own set of AI tools, both that help with data enrichment, some with reporting, some with email content generation, just simple things like help me rewrite this subject.
Hmm.
So the good news is that you're not on your own. You don't have to simply rely on ChatGPT to do everything for you. These large language models are being put to work by lots of different vendors in your toolkit. And if you just kind of open your mind to what those capabilities are, I think there's a lot of benefit, and you can get ahead and really be an early adopter.
Okay. Yeah, I totally agree. And I see what you're saying as far as the smaller businesses. The kind of speed to market, so to speak, with adopting these tools is definitely a lot quicker. Because, of course,
Absolutely.
as you said, with the larger firms, there's a lot more, I guess you could just say red tape that they have to go through. If, let's say, a marketing team says, okay, okay, we see Perplexity, for instance, we think this is something great. We want to just go ahead and use it. It's not like they can just flip a switch and roll it out to their entire marketing team. It's a really quite a process to be able to adopt a solution and then use it, being able to use it company wide. But as a smaller business, they can see any of these tools that just come out and just, try it. There's plenty of free trials with these solutions. They can try it, do some test runs with it, so to speak, experiments. And then if it works, great. If not, that's it. They can move on, and it's just a lot quicker to be able to do
Yeah,
that.
and I guess, one of the things I would say as a practical tip to founders and marketers out there is, I think about how we leverage AI in kind of two aspects, right? If you're a
Mhm.
marketer, think internal operations first. Like, what am I doing today? What's my team
Mhm.
doing today that's taking meaningful time? And if it's leading, research oriented, creative with content or images. There's a number of different solutions out there, or if this is an analysis. And so the other, the thing that usually holds people back is kind of really knowing, hey, how do I get started? So if you
Mhm.
could just set yourself a goal of here's something we want to achieve in the next, say, 30, 45 days, and
Right.
work towards that, it's a good way to kind of get off the blocks and not be overwhelmed by just the sheer
Yeah.
number of AI solutions that are available
Yeah.
out there.
Exactly. Yeah. The goal setting is definitely key. So they'll at least know, all right, what do we want? What are we trying to achieve? And then they can, kind of craft pick the right solution that's going to help them best reach those goals for sure. Now, kind of switching gears here and looking at maybe some things that you guys are presently doing with Webgility. Let's just imagine there's a small e-commerce retailer and they're juggling their inventory across multiple platforms, which is, I know, an issue that I've seen a lot of business owners have when they're got inventory and they have to coordinate that across Amazon, across their own sites, and maybe even some other marketplaces. That's a big issue. How can tools, AI powered tools like Webgility or other tools, how can they use that to transform their daily operations to make that end customer experience a lot better? Granted that they're across all these platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate the plug on Webgility. We're definitely spending a lot of our time thinking about how do small businesses really leverage the power of AI to not to sort of really ask the same questions, right? What can we do to actually answer questions for them before they have them? And when
Mhm.
it comes to operations, we're constantly thinking about how can we automate different parts of their operational workflow, and inventory is absolutely one of them. So you'll be you might be surprised to hear one of the biggest challenges that small businesses have is they don't actually have their catalogs properly structured. So
Mm.
something as simple as a SKU might not have the same details on one channel as it does on the other. And so just getting the data right across channels so that you know which SKU you're selling and that it's been priced correctly. These are things that we are helping these merchants do. So make sure that you're not overselling, you're allocating your quantities accurately across the different channels. And even if you don't have your SKUs right, we're actually today, and I'm excited to talk about this because we're working on it actively, is we're building out an AI-driven solution where we can auto-match products across different catalogs. So
Oh, wow.
merchants that have thousands of SKUs on different channels and they don't have their nomenclature right and they need to kind of, their catalog changes frequently, we're currently building an AI solution that will automatically match products from different channels and really quickly enable them to list new solutions and update inventory levels across the channels. So businesses are evolving constantly. And yeah, it's just one of the use cases. But as we think about inventory, we think about pricing, we think about revenue, expenses, fees, all of these things that are very dynamic for a small business and that change at a rapid pace. Those are the elements that we're looking at ways for AI to automate. Often people think about AI as just, I'm going to ask a question and it's going to give me an answer based on the data
Right.
it has. But I
Yes.
think AI is beyond that. It's not just about answering questions, it's about automating work.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Automating work, and then that's where I think the true power comes into play. Because if you can leverage these solutions to automate work, I mean, that's not only a time saving, it's a cost savings. You may be able to offload tasks that you have, people in your team that are manually doing that to automate that, and that's really a big thing. Well, as we get ready to wrap things up, I just want to kind of look forward into the next 5 years as this whole AI adoption is continually growing. Where do you see, are there certain things that you think are going to be critical for small and medium sized businesses to implement in order for them to survive and even grow in these next 5 years?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I think about the change, the wave of that we had, say, in the last decade was voice assistants. It used to be,
Yes.
you couldn't think about talking to Alexa, right? And now it's just become part of our daily lives. And I think that's
Sure.
the next wave that's going to happen with AI is business owners and even consumers need to start getting very comfortable with this concept of having conversations with AI agents. So
Mm.
many software interfaces are going to be replaced by agent oriented interfaces. So you're going to have to get very comfortable with talking with an AI agent. So I think that's
Right.
here, and it's going
Mhm.
to only become more and more prolific as Apple launches its intelligence. I think that's going to be a critical marker because that's going to start to really change user behavior with folks, billion plus phones in their hands. They're going to start to really
Yeah.
change behavior. And once that behavior comes, I think it's only a matter of time that small businesses interact with software differently. And you
Mhm.
start to get into an environment where you're not going into an application, clicking things, running reports, but instead you get comfortable asking agents to give you answers. And
Yeah.
ultimately, it's that evolution will take the next step, which is not just asking it questions, but then having it perform tasks for you. So agents are here, co-pilots are here. um, they're going to only get smarter with time. And yeah, I think it's going to lead to quite a bit of a change, sweeping changes in how small businesses are built, how software is developed, and
Yeah.
ultimately consumers are also going to rely on that capability to help power their decision making as far as what products they buy, how they check out. So we're about to see the next big wave, and it's going to be as transformational as, say, the iPhone was.
Yeah, for sure. That's very well said, and I can see that coming as well, because it's like you said, there's been various iterations of this. All of these AI assistants. We had the Amazon Echo, and then the series. Of course, it's like we've been the masses have been kind of primed every step of the way to kind of get used to this coming technology. Behind the scenes, of course, all these things have been in the works, but it's just been slowly coming out. Now, I think there's really been that really push. The accelerator has been really pushed to really get a lot of this stuff out quickly. And it's going to be exciting from both sides of it, as a business owner and as a consumer, to see the changes. But I think, the bottom line is I think most businesses are going to have to be able to adapt to this, just like we saw during COVID, when there were so many businesses that hadn't adapted a solid e-commerce presence, really have went to the wayside. So many businesses that were a little late to get into the game, fell to the wayside. And I think we're looking at the same thing that could possibly happen if they don't adopt some of these.
A simplistic way to think about this is, more money is being poured into AI than NASA poured into getting us to the moon.
Wow. Yeah, that's huge.
So we got to the moon. We're definitely going to be leveraging AI to automate and think about the next wave of technology. So lots of change to come.
For sure. That's a great way to look at it. Well, this has been an awesome conversation, Parag. We see there's some exciting times going on right now and some exciting times coming ahead of us. So I can't wait to see where this is going to go. But lastly, before we let you go, I always like to switch gears just so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact about yourself that you think we'd be interested to know.
Well, I'm a father of two, and I've got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. And fun fact, I just installed their bunk bed. So my life's about to change.
Okay, awesome. That should be interesting. Okay, 3 and 6-year-olds and bunk beds. Okay. Yeah, that kind of brings back some memories of myself. I had a bunk bed when I was growing up with my brother. And,
Yes.
I think I'm trying to recall, I guess, who decided to get the top. It's always the top bunk was always the more preferred one.
That's right.
So I guess are your kids gonna fight it out to see who gets the top bunk?
I call my daughter the instructor. She's the one who gives all the instructions. So she leads and we all follow. So we know where she's going to be on the top bunk.
Okay, awesome. Well, that sounds good. Well, that keeps things simple for you. It's good that you have a young leader in your household.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Well, great. Well, thank you for sharing that, Parag. And then lastly, of course, if any of our listeners and viewers want to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about AI technologies or about any ways that you or your business can help them, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time thinking and sometimes writing. So I like to share every now and then, but I know it's going to be my 2025 resolution to write more, but I definitely spend some time on LinkedIn. So look me up there, Parag Mamnani.
Okay, awesome. We'll be sure to have the link to your profile in our show notes so people can check you out, and also a link to Webgility's website as well. Well, once again, this has been an awesome conversation, Parag. I really appreciate you coming on the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level, but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.